to another episode of Tom Plays Board Games. I'm Tom, and today I'm going to talk about a game we played just last night. We haven't played it in about 2 years or so, and I thought while I had it out on the table I would do a review and a report on our play last night. And that game is Forbidden Stars. Forbidden Stars is an epic game of galactic conquest set in the Warhammer 40k universe. It's published by Fantasy Flight, and it was designed by James Niffin, Samuel W. Bailey and Corey Knitske. So in Forbidden Stars you will be playing one of 4 of the Warhammer 40k factions. Each faction in this game plays very differently. They all have asymmetrical abilities and units and cards. And so basically you're going to be placing orders on the board, you're going to be moving your units around, you're going to be purchasing units, building structures, upgrading your cards, and fighting epic battles, all in an effort to achieve objectives which will win you the game. So why don't we have a look at the components and gameplay. The board in Forbidden Stars is made up of these double-sided system tiles. At the start of the game you will be building this map with the other players. You get 3 tiles each, and then, as I said, you'll all build this map as you go. This is a 4-player layout, so it's a 3x4. And once you've done that, then you move on to the first planning phase. In the planning phase you will take turns placing orders until each player has placed 4 orders each. You have to place your orders in the allocated slot on each system tile. You have to place them either in a friendly system or a system that you're adjacent to. For example, here the Eldar can place one of the orders in here, in this system, or in this system. Adjacency in this game works only horizontally or vertically, not diagonally, and similarly in an actual system. So these 2 planets are not adjacent. You would have to move around using your ships if you wanted to get from this planet to this planet. You can't just go diagonally. As I said, there's no diagonal adjacency in this game. So when you're placing your orders, you can actually stack as many orders. Like, as I said, you can only use 4, but you can stack orders on top of each other, and other factions can do the same. So it becomes very strategic, this game, in when you place your orders and where you're placing your orders. So as I said, that's when the analysis paralysis can kick in this game. But yeah, so you can stack your orders like that, and then you would resolve them top to bottom in turn order. I'll quickly go over what the 4 orders are. So you have advance. So the advance order means basically if I was to put the advance order in there like so, then I could move adjacent units. So I can move units from this system and this system into this system by, so for example, I move a ship in there, then I can use the ship as a bridge, these 2 ships as a bridge to be able to move these units to here. And then that will start a combat. So that's your advance order. Then you have your dominate order, which is how you can collect resources. So when you place the dominate order, for example, in this system, you collect the red resources. So these are extra material, which is the resource in this game, and that is the reinforcement token. So to dominate, you will collect the red icons and also it allows you to do your faction ability. You have the deploy icon, which basically that allows you to spend your resources, your material, to build new units and build structures. And then you have the strategize order, which allows you to upgrade your combat cards. So you start off with a hand of 10 combat cards, but then you can upgrade them by paying the cost here. And you also need a command level. Some of them need a command level, which is basically, the command level is how many cities you've built. So to be able to get this card, I would need to have built 2 cities. You can spend some of the resources, which are called assets, forge tokens, to reduce the command level. So it's an easy way to. If you don't have the cities built, you can just spend forge tokens to skip command level. You can also, with the strategize token, you can also upgrade your orders. So these cards add special abilities to your order tokens. And then also, when you've done, anytime you do a strategize order, you will then put the strategize token onto this event deck, and then at the refresh phase you can resolve the event on that card. So that's your four orders, different orders. You get 2 of each of them, so you don't have to put 1 of each down. You can put 2, for example, 2 advance orders if you wanted to do 2 moves, or if you wanted to build twice. But as I said, it's only up to a maximum of 4. And then once everyone has placed 4 orders on the board, then you move on to the operations phase. And then basically in the operations phase you'll just be resolving these orders. So if you've done any advance orders, you'll be moving your units around. If you've done dominate, you'll be collecting your resources. Strategize, you'll be upgrading your combat cards and your orders. And if you did deploy, you'll be building your more units and buildings. And the moment, so if I had an advance order in here and I moved these units to here, as soon as they land on that planet, you will resolve a combat. Okay, so let's just do a quick overview of the combat. So you'll check your faction mat and find out the number of dice that each of your units in the combat will roll. You roll the dice, then you put the results of the dice next to the units. This is just a fan-made battle mat I've printed out from Board Game Geek. Once you've rolled your dice, you then have the opportunity, if you have any reinforcement tokens, you can add a reinforcement token to your combat. The reinforcement token will always be the equivalent of your lowest unit. Once you've done that, then everyone has a deck of 10 combat cards. So these are the Orcs combat cards. You shuffle them, then you deal 5, and then you'll choose 1 card from the 5. Each player will choose 1 card from their 5 combat cards, play them simultaneously. Then the attacking player will resolve his card first, so he'll have icons on here that will add to the dice, and abilities you can use. Some abilities are for certain units. Then once the attacker resolves his card, the defender resolves his card, and then once you've resolved both cards, then you will assess damage, and if one player has done enough damage to the other player to destroy all his units, that's obviously the end of the combat. If there is still units from both players still on the board, then you will do another execution phase, which is where you will pick another combat card from the hand you dealt, and you will do that up to 3 times. And if at the end of the 3rd execution phase, where you're playing the cards, there's still units on the board, then you will count up the morale of each unit left that is not routed. And there's also morale on your dice. There can be morale on cards, and and the morale of each unit is also stated on your faction board. That's a quick summary of combat, and combat's awesome. So once you finish the operations phase, then you move on to the refresh phase. The first thing you do in a refresh phase, you see if anybody has completed any objectives. So for example, the orcs here have ended their turn in a system where there's one of their objectives. So they will take that objective and put it on their playmat. If that is their fourth objective, in a 4-player game you have to get 4, 3-player 3, 2-player 2. So if that is their fourth objective, to win the game. And just to add there, the refresh phase has a few more steps to it that involve collecting material and moving warp storms and things like that. Right, so firstly I just want to say about this game is that I love it so much. It saddens me a little bit that Fantasy Flight lost the license to this, because it means that there's not going to be any more content for this game, no more expansions. Having said that, there is more than enough in the box to have loads of replayability. The fact that all the factions are asymmetrical, well, that adds replayability straight away. Because if you play with a different faction each time, it's going to be a different game, because you have to follow different strategies. So the thing I really love about this game is the planning phase. That's the phase where you've got to place your 4 orders on the board. Now you have to really put a lot of thought into where you're going to place them orders, how you want to resolve them. So for example, making sure that if you need to get resources before you build, so you're always going to make sure that the build order is below the dominate order. Then you've also got to try and predict where other players are going to go, because you don't want your order tokens getting buried underneath other people's order tokens, because you won't be able to resolve them. And sometimes that could mean that the other stuff you want to do, you can't do it anymore. So it is quite, I find it's a little bit stressful and very tense, and it does lead to a little bit of analysis paralysis, but I really find that part of the game, that's the part of the game for me that really shines, is that initial planning phase. And as I said, if you do get it wrong, it can be very, very punishing, and it can be tough. If you have an early setback in this game, it can be tough to come back. Like last night when we played, I had a really rough first round, and it took me a long time to recover. I was on the defensive for 4 or 5 rounds. By the time I built my forces back up again and started spreading out, it was too late. But having said that, it did not take away 1 second of enjoyment from the game for me. Because you're just doing loads of cool stuff. When you're resolving those orders, you're building new fleets with the deploy, you're building structures, you're building cities and bastions, factories, you're building your more advanced units. And then there's the strategized order, you're making your combat deck stronger, and you're upgrading your orders. With the dominate, even with the dominate order, even though you just click resources, the dominate order still then allows you to activate your faction ability. So, and then obviously your advanced order, you're moving around the board, and more often than not, when you're using advanced order, you end up in combat. And that's another awesome part of this game, is the combat. It's a brilliant combat system, I think, and even when I'm not involved in it, I find, I'm just as engaged with other people, because I just enjoy the combat so much, with the rolling the dice at the start, then playing the cards, trying to manipulate the dice you have. So yeah, for me, out of the few Fantasy Flight games that I've played, the epic games like Rebellion, Star Wars Rebellion and Twilight Imperium, and a few other games like Eclipse, I think this is my favourite combat system. I just think it's awesome. Forbidden Star, it always takes us a long time to play this game. Usually 4 to 6 hours, and I think that's probably because it doesn't, like as I said earlier, it was 2 years since we played this before, but it does give me that epic feel though. It gives me that kind of Twilight Imperium feel, but without obviously the politics that you get in Twilight Imperium and the horseplay negotiating that you do with all the other players for trade deals and for votes and things like that. But I do always, when I sit down to play a game of Forbidden Stars, I do always feel like I'm going to be in for an epic experience. And it was the same last night. I think we kicked off around 7 PM and we finished up around 1 AM. So, but as I said, the night flew by and we loved every second of it. As I said, it's a straight up build your armies, go and fight people. As I said, strengthening your combat deck as you go along. And it's a real shame this game is out of print now, because so that means it's not going to be that accessible to people. But what I would say is, if you ever get a chance to try this game, you should, and you have a few hours to spare, you should definitely give it a go. So that is Forbidden Stars from Fantasy Flight. As I said, give it a go, 2 thumbs up from me. So if you like this video and you want to see more of these videos from me, please subscribe to my channel. You can head on over to Instagram at Tom Plays Board Games, and you can follow my stuff over there. But until the next time, take it easy.